Snow whipped across the city like tiny shards of glass, stinging faces and sending people rushing toward warm doorways. Sirens wailed somewhere in the distance, echoing through the steel canyons of downtown as if warning, something's coming, something big. And in the middle of it all, billionaire CEO Harrison Cole sat frozen at a small cafe table, unmoving, unreadable, and looking like a man who'd just seen a ghost. What he didn't know was that tonight, one small voice was about to flip his entire world upside down. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in form? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories. Harrison tightened his grip around a coffee cup that had gone ice cold a long time ago. The December night wrapped around him like a punishment he couldn't outrun. Christmas lights blinked across the street, warm, festive, joyful, but none of it could thaw the emptiness dragging at his chest. He looked like success carved into human form, perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect posture. People usually saw him and thought, dang, that guy's living the dream. If only they knew the dream felt more like a prison. His penthouse, with its ridiculous glass walls and million-dollar view, waited for him, but stepping into it felt like stepping into silence that swallowed him whole. His parents were long gone. His ex-wife had remarried someone who actually showed up for her. His so-called friends? They drifted off years ago, casualties of his grind-till-you-die work ethic. He told himself he was simply taking a break from holiday errands. But deep down he knew the truth. He had nowhere to be. No one who cared if he was missing. No one who would notice if he never walked back home. He was on the verge of heading to the office, anything to avoid being alone again, when a tiny voice cut through the winter air. Mister, what are you sitting here like someone stole your Christmas?" Harrison turned, startled. There she was, a little girl, barely 4, standing beside his table like she'd popped out of thin air. Blonde curls escaping her hat, boots too big for her tiny legs, and a teddy bear tucked beneath her arm like a sidekick. "I'm Emma," she declared, like a mayor introducing herself. "And you look super-duper sad." Harrison blinked. I'm fine." "Nope," she said bluntly. "That's what my mommy says when she's totally not fine." He almost choked on a laugh. "Where's your mom?" Emma pointed across the sidewalk to a woman loading bags into an old beat-up car. Harrison spotted the exhaustion in her movements even from here. "You want to know something?" Emma whispered, leaning in like they were sharing top-secret intel. "Nobody should be alone on Christmas. Mommy says so." Before he could respond, her mother hurried over, breathless and apologetic. "Emma, sweetheart, you can't wander off like—" She froze when she saw Harrison in his $1,000 coat. Shock, then suspicion, then something like sympathy. Emma grabbed her mom's hand. "He has no family, Mommy. We should help him." Her mother, Jennifer Banks, hesitated, really hesitated. Snow fell harder, traffic hummed. And Harrison knew this tiny stranger was offering him something he hadn't felt in years. An invitation back into the world. And just as Jennifer finally opened her mouth to speak, a sudden shout echoed from the street, followed by something that made all three of them turn at once, because danger had arrived first. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and return to our channel for more life-changing, emotional, and heartwarming stories. That sharp shout from across the street sliced through the cold like a blade. Harrison instinctively straightened, scanning for the source. A delivery driver was yelling at someone who had slipped on the icy sidewalk. A small commotion, but enough to make Jennifer tense and pull Emma a little closer. "It's okay," Harrison said softly, hands raised a bit, showing he wasn't a threat. "Just someone taking a spill." Jennifer exhaled shakily. The worry in her eyes wasn't fear. It was the look of a mother carrying too many responsibilities on shoulders already worn thin. Emma, she murmured, brushing a curl behind her daughter's ear, you can't talk to strangers like that. But he's sad, Emma insisted, and Christmas is for fixing sad. Harrison felt something in his chest twist. Kids had a way of slicing straight to the truth without even trying. Jennifer sighed. I'm really sorry she bothered you. She didn't bother me, Harrison said gently. Honestly, she made my night a little less quiet. That earned him a long, evaluating look, a look that seemed to weigh who he was, what he wanted, and whether he was the kind of man she could trust for even 5 minutes. Her gaze flicked to his expensive suit, then to the loneliness he couldn't hide if he tried. Maybe it was the snow. Maybe it was the soft Christmas lights. Maybe it was the fact that she hadn't seen genuine kindness from a stranger in a very long time. But after a moment, Jennifer nodded slightly. Well, our place isn't fancy, not even close. But if you actually don't have anywhere to be tonight, you can join us for dinner. Just dinner? Emma squealed like she'd just won the toy aisle at Target. See, Mommy, I told you he needed cookies. Harrison felt his throat tighten. A nurse, a daughter, a grandmother, a tiny apartment, a simple dinner. And yet somehow it sounded warmer than anything he had been invited to in years. Are you sure? He asked quietly, not wanting to intrude but desperately wanting to say yes. Jennifer shrugged with a small smile. It's Christmas Eve. Nobody should sit out here freezing. Then I'd be honored, Harrison said. Cool, Emma said proudly, handing him her teddy bear like she was knighting him. You can hold Sir Fluffles, he likes you. Harrison blinked. Sir Fluffles? He's a knight, she explained seriously. He protects people who are lonely. Jennifer snorted softly. Emma, baby, that's not. But Harrison held the bear gently, warmth creeping into his frozen hands. I'll take good care of him. They walked toward Jennifer's old Honda Civic, its bumper held together by hope and duct tape. Snow crackled under their feet as Emma skipped ahead, humming a Christmas tune off-key. As Harrison followed, he felt something strange. A spark, a warmth, a feeling he hadn't felt in a decade, belonging. He placed the bear in the back seat and glanced at Jennifer. She looked away quickly, cheeks pink from more than the cold. Ready? She asked softly. Harrison nodded. But before Jennifer could start the engine, her car made a sound so loud and so ugly it felt like the universe had other plans, and the night took a sudden, surprising turn. Jennifer turned the key and the engine let out a sputtering cough followed by a grinding noise that sounded like metal begging for mercy. Harrison winced. Emma slapped her hands over her ears. Mommy! The car's making the monster noise again. Jennifer closed her eyes like she was praying for a miracle. Please, not tonight, not now. She tried again. R, clunk, dead. Jennifer slumped back in her seat. Great. Just fantastic. Harrison felt a bolt of concern shoot through him. Is it the battery? No, it's the everything. Jennifer blew out a shaky breath. This car's older than half the nurses on my floor. Starts when it wants, cries when it doesn't. Emma leaned forward between the seats, eyes wide. Mommy, can we walk home? I'm cold, but I'm brave. Jennifer brushed her cheek. It's too far, sweetheart. The wind howled, slinging snow sideways. Pedestrians vanished indoors like the sidewalks were lava. This wasn't a walkable night, not with a 4-year-old. Without hesitation, Harrison said, My car's around the corner. Jennifer stiffened. Harrison, you barely know us, and I'm not getting into a stranger's car with my daughter even if you look like you stepped off a magazine cover. He respected that more than anything. But he wasn't about to leave a mom and kid freezing on the street. You can drive, he offered simply. Keys, wheel, everything. I'll sit in the back if that helps. Jennifer blinked, surprised by the simplicity of his solution. Emma, on the other hand, gasped dramatically. Mommy, he's like a Christmas superhero. Harrison laughed. More like a guy who's tired of watching you both shiver. Jennifer hesitated a beat longer, then nodded. Okay. But I'm driving. Absolutely. They climbed out of the broken Honda and walked through swirling snow until Harrison pointed to a sleek black SUV parked under a street lamp. Jennifer's jaw dropped. Holy wow, she murmured. This thing looks like it costs more than my entire building. It's just a car, Harrison said, shrugging. Yeah, she said, smirking, and I'm just bayin' say. Inside, the heater blasted warm air like a hug. Emma wriggled happily in the back seat. Sir Fluffles says thank you. As Jennifer drove, Harrison watched her knuckles, tight, focused, determined. She drove like someone used to surviving on caution, someone who couldn't afford mistakes. You okay? He asked quietly. She kept her eyes on the road. Yeah, just not used to fancy things or random kindness. It's not random, Harrison said softly. It's Christmas Eve. Somebody helped me once when I didn't deserve it. Feels right to pay it forward. Jennifer's gaze flicked to him, warm for a second. Well, thanks, really. They pulled into her apartment complex, a worn building with flickering hallway lights and railings that had seen better decades. Harrison followed them up 3 flights of stairs, Emma toddling ahead like she owned the place. Jennifer unlocked the door. Warmth, the smell of roasting turkey, a soft glow of Christmas lights. Home. Rose stood in the living room wearing an apron and suspicion. Jennifer inhaled. Mom, don't freak out. But Rose didn't wait. She took one look at Harrison, dropped the spoon in her hand, and said words that made the entire room freeze. Rose's spoon clattered against the hardwood like a gunshot. Her eyes locked onto Harrison with a stare sharp enough to shave metal. Oh, absolutely not, she declared, pointing at him like he'd been caught sneaking out a window. Jennifer Banks, you did not just bring a strange man into this house with my grandbaby here. Jennifer groaned softly. Mom, please. Nope, nope, I've watched too many crime shows for this. Rose snapped, hands flying in the air like she was directing traffic. He could be a scammer, a kidnapper. What do they call it? A crypto bro, Emma gasped. Grandma, he's not a creepy bro, he held Sir Fluffles. Only good people get to do that. Harrison held up his hands, trying not to laugh. Ma'am, I promise I'm not a criminal or a crypto bro. Rose narrowed her eyes. Prove it. Mom, Jennifer hissed. Rose crossed her arms stubbornly. Honey, I love you, but this is how horror movies start. Jennifer rubbed her forehead. His car broke, we were freezing, and her Honda died again. He offered us a ride. I drove. Rose stared at her daughter, then at Emma, then at Harrison. Finally, she sighed. Well, he does look too tired to be a murderer. That was the closest thing to approval Harrison figured he'd get. Emma tugged his coat sleeve. Come see our tree. It's kinda crooked, but Mommy says that's its personality. The tension cracked. Harrison smiled. I'd love to. Inside, the apartment glowed with warmth and mismatched Christmas lights, the kind that blinked out of sync but somehow made the place feel alive. Handmade ornaments dangled from the slightly leaning tree. A paper angel, obviously made by Emma, sat on top, tilting dangerously to one side. Wow, Harrison said. This is perfect. Jennifer snorted. Perfect is a strong word. Our decorations are mostly dollar store survivors. It feels like a home, Harrison replied quietly. That's pretty rare. Jennifer paused, glancing at him with a softness he hadn't seen before. Rose cleared her throat. Dinner's ready. And you, she pointed at Harrison, better like turkey, because it took me 3 hours and 1 burnt finger. I'm honored, Harrison said warmly. They gathered around a tiny table that looked too small for 4 people but somehow fit them perfectly. Steam rose from the food, filling the room with the smell of butter, spices, and something like comfort. As they ate, Emma chattered about preschool drama, who stole whose crayon, who tried to kiss the class pet turtle, who was put in timeout jail. Harrison listened like each word mattered, nodding along, smiling more than he had in years. Jennifer watched him, not like she was studying him, more like she was discovering something she didn't expect. "You really don't have anywhere to go tonight?" she asked quietly once Emma took a break to dunk a roll in her mashed potatoes. Harrison hesitated. "No, not anymore." Jennifer's expression softened. "Well, you're welcome here for tonight," Emma beamed. "See, I told you grown-ups need parties too." Harrison felt warmth crawl up his throat. He'd been in boardrooms worth millions, penthouses worth tens of millions, but nothing had ever felt like this simple three-person meal. After dinner, Emma dragged him to the living room for her official Christmas performance, which involved her dancing in circles with her teddy bear while singing a song she invented on the spot. Harrison clapped like he was in front-row seats at Broadway. Jennifer watched him, watched the way he laughed, the way he leaned in, the way something heavy seemed to melt off his shoulders. It was like witnessing a man wake up. Rose leaned in toward her daughter. "Be careful," she whispered. "Men like that don't usually stay." Jennifer swallowed hard. "Yeah," she whispered, "I know." But she couldn't deny the truth. Harrison Cole didn't feel like a man who was passing through. He felt like someone who needed to be here. But just when the night finally felt settled, a sudden knock rattled the front door. Loud, urgent, and carrying news that would flip the entire evening upside down. The knock hit the door again, hard enough to shake the cheap frame, hard enough to silence the room instantly. Emma froze mid-teddy bear twirl. Jennifer's head snapped toward the hallway. Rose muttered, "Oh, Lord, have mercy," and reached instinctively for a wooden spoon like it was a weapon. Harrison stood up slowly, something sharp flickering through him, a blend of alertness and protectiveness he hadn't felt in years. Jennifer stepped toward the door cautiously. "Who is it?" A man's voice, low, irritated, impatient, answered. "Jen, open up, it's me." Jennifer's face drained of color. Rose whispered sharply, "No, no, no, no. He is not back here." Jennifer swallowed. "Mom, keep Emma behind you." Emma blinked innocently. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Harrison watched the shift. The way Jennifer straightened her spine, the way her jaw set, the way she looked like someone preparing to face down a storm she already knew too well. She cracked the door open just enough to peek through. A tall man stood on the landing, leather jacket soaked with melted snow, cologne that tried to mask the lingering scent of booze. His eyes were glassy, his smile too wide. "Jen," he drawled. "Merry Christmas." Her ex-husband, the man who left. The man Harrison had heard about only briefly, but apparently he had horrible timing. Jennifer kept her voice ridiculously calm. "Kyle, what are you doing here?" "Came to see my kid," he said, leaning against the door like he owned the place. "You got a problem with that?" Rose stepped forward, fiery. "You haven't shown your face in over a year," Kyle smirked. "Yeah, well, I'm here now." Jennifer blocked the doorway with her body. "You can't just show up. It's Christmas Eve, Kyle. She's getting ready for bed." "Then let me say hi," he snapped. Emma peeked around Rose's leg, confused. "Mommy." "Who's that?" Kyle's eyes lit up. "Hey, princess." Jennifer yanked the door tighter, heart dropping. "Go back to Grandma, baby." But Emma, being 4 and curious, stepped forward anyway. "Are you Santa?" Kyle laughed too loudly. "Nah, kiddo, I'm your dad." The room turned to ice. Emma just blinked, processing. "But Mr. Harrison reads me stories." Kyle's expression twisted. "Who?" Jennifer winced. Rose muttered, "Here we go," like she'd seen this movie 100 times. Kyle pushed against the door. "Who's in there, Jen? Some guy? Seriously, you letting random rich dudes play daddy now?" Harrison stood, calm, steady, unshakable. "Maybe you should lower your voice," he said, tone firm but not aggressive. "There's a child present." Kyle scoffed. "Oh, look, pretty boy CEO wants to play hero." Jennifer stepped between them before Harrison could speak. "Kyle, stop. You don't get to barge in here and cause drama. Emma doesn't know you. You made that choice." Kyle's face flushed with anger. You trying to turn her against me? She's not against you, Jennifer said tightly. She just doesn't remember you. You left when she was 2. Kyle shoved his hands in his pockets. Yeah, well, maybe I'm ready to be around now. Jennifer's voice cracked. It's not that simple. Kyle looked past her again, searching for Emma, and his tone sharpened. We need to talk, alone. Jennifer's pulse spiked. Not tonight. Kyle leaned closer. It's happening tonight whether you like it or not. Harrison stepped forward again, but Jennifer shot him a warning glance. Don't, not yet. Kyle exhaled sharply. Fine, I'll wait downstairs, but we're not done. He stormed away, footsteps echoing all the way down the stairwell. Jennifer closed the door, hands shaking. Emma tugged her sleeve. Mommy, is that man really my daddy? Jennifer could barely breathe. Yes, baby, but we'll talk more later, okay? Harrison stepped closer, voice gentle. Do you want me to leave? Jennifer shook her head instantly. No, please don't. But Harrison had no idea. Kyle hadn't actually left the building, and what he planned next would force Harrison to choose between keeping distance or stepping fully into their lives. Jennifer leaned against the closed door, breathing like she'd just sprinted 10 miles. Her hands trembled, and for the first time since Harrison met her, she looked genuinely scared. Rose wrapped an arm around her. Baby, you okay? Jennifer swallowed hard. I knew he'd show up one day, but not like this, not tonight. Harrison stayed a respectful distance away, but everything in him ached to step closer. Jennifer, if you want me to go, just say the word. She snapped her head up. No, don't even think about leaving. I can't deal with him alone. Emma tugged Harrison's sleeve, her tiny voice cracking. Mr. Harrison, why was that man yelling at Mommy? Daddies aren't supposed to yell. His heart nearly shattered right there. He knelt down to her level. Hey, kiddo, none of this is your fault. Grown-ups sometimes make big mistakes. Emma's lip wobbled. Is Mommy mad at me? No, Harrison said firmly. Not even a little, she's just worried. Jennifer squeezed her eyes shut like she was fighting tears. I don't want her scared of him. She deserves better, Rose exhaled. Kyle always did have terrible timing and worse judgment. Before Harrison could respond, the hallway outside creaked. Slow, deliberate footsteps, heavy. Too heavy for any neighbor, Harrison's muscles tensed. He's still out there. Jennifer's breath hitched. Oh God, he's listening. Rose straightened her shoulders, fury igniting. If he thinks he's stepping foot back into this home, he must have hit his head. Harrison moved quietly toward the peephole. Kyle wasn't standing directly in front of the door. He was pacing the hallway, muttering to himself, fists clenching and unclenching like a fuse burning low. Trouble waiting to explode, Harrison stepped back. He's not leaving, he's trying to work himself up. Jennifer covered her mouth. He always does this. He gets angry, then he gets mean. Emma whispered, Mommy, can he come inside? Jennifer knelt, voice trembling but steady. Baby, you're safe. Grandma's here, Mr. Harrison's here, I won't let anything happen to you. Emma nodded, but fear shimmered in her eyes. Harrison felt something fierce rising in him, something protective, something possessive, something that felt a lot like family. He looked at Jennifer. I'm not letting him intimidate you, not tonight, not ever. She stared at him, something breaking open in her expression. Why are you being so good to us? He didn't know how to explain it. So he didn't try, because you deserve it, all of you. Rose cleared her throat. Well, thank God he showed up before I had to whack that man with my saucepan. A faint laugh bubbled through Jennifer's stress. But then bang, bang, bang. The door rattled as Kyle slammed his fist against it again. Jennifer, he shouted, open the damn door. We're talking tonight whether that rich boy likes it or not. Emma screamed and covered her ears. Rose grabbed a broom like a seasoned warrior. Jennifer froze. Harrison stepped forward, eyes blazing. His voice dropped low, dangerous, controlled. That's enough. He opened the door, not wide, just enough to stand between Jennifer's family and the man who had caused years of damage. "Kyle," Harrison said, tone cold as the winter night. "You need to back off." Kyle smirked. "Oh yeah, or what, money bags?" Harrison didn't flinch. "Or you'll find out." Kyle stepped closer, breath sour with booze. "You don't scare me." Harrison leaned in, voice soft but deadly. "I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you your time for yelling is over." Jennifer gasped softly behind him, stunned at the steel in his voice. Kyle's smirk faded. But before Kyle could spit out another insult, someone else suddenly appeared at the top of the stairs. Someone neither Jennifer nor Harrison expected. And what they said next would change everything. Kyle spun toward the stairwell, annoyed, ready to bark at whoever interrupted. But the second figure stepped into the dim hallway light, lifting a hand. "Whoa, easy there," Jennifer gasped. "Officer Ramirez?" A uniformed cop, mid-40s, calm eyes, built like he benched refrigerators, appeared on the landing. Snow dusted his shoulders. He held a small bag of Christmas cookies in one hand and a look of concern in the other. Emma squealed. "Officer Ramey?" He winked at her. "Heard you've been behaving like a little angel." Emma pointed at Kyle. "Except he's yelling. Mommy doesn't like yelling." Officer Ramirez turned slowly, eyes sharpening as he took in the scene, Harrison blocking the doorway, Jennifer shaking behind him, Kyle flushed and unsteady. Ramirez sighed like he had just walked into a mess he'd seen way too many times. "Kyle Jacobs, guess Santa didn't bring you good sense this year." Kyle's jaw clenched. "I wasn't doing anything, except creating a disturbance," Ramirez said flatly, "which your neighbors called in about again." Jennifer's shoulders slumped in relief. "Thank God." Ramirez stepped between Harrison and Kyle with practiced ease. "Kyle, we've talked about this. You don't show up drunk, you don't pound on doors, and you don't escalate situations around your kid." Kyle pointed at Jennifer, breath sour. "She kept Emma from me?" Jennifer snapped back. "You didn't want her until tonight." Kyle threw up his hands. "I was confused." Ramirez held up a hand. "Enough. You can request supervised visitation properly. You know the process." "But tonight, you're leaving, now." Kyle glared at Harrison. "Bet this is your fault, rich boy." Harrison didn't blink. "You showing up like this is nobody's fault but yours." Kyle lunged a step, and Ramirez shoved an arm out, steel strong. "Kyle, don't make me cuff you on Christmas Eve." For a long, tense moment, the whole hallway held its breath. Then Kyle scoffed, spat on the floor, and muttered, "This isn't over." He stomped down the stairs, footsteps crashing like tantrums with boots on. When his angry echo finally disappeared, the silence felt like something sacred. Jennifer's knees buckled, not collapsing, but the kind of shaking that comes when fear finally lets go. Harrison caught her gently, guiding her back inside. Officer Ramirez stepped in too, softer now. "You all right, Jen?" She nodded weakly. "Yeah, thank you." Emma clung to her leg. Rose patted her back, whispering, "You're safe now, baby." Ramirez turned to Harrison. "You handled yourself real calm. Not a lot of folks know how to de-escalate a hothead without macking things worse." Harrison shrugged. "They teach patience in boardrooms. That and how to spot a disaster coming a mile away." Ramirez chuckled. "Well, you passed the vibe check." Jennifer met Harrison's eyes then, really met them. Gratitude, relief, something deeper warming behind it. "Thank you," she whispered, "for standing up for us, for staying." He brushed a snowflake from her hair. "I'm not going anywhere." Rose rolled her eyes in the background. "Thank heavens, because that was the most dramatic Christmas Eve since 1999. Emma climbed into Harrison's arms like she'd been doing it for years. "Mr. Harrison, can you stay for the rest of Christmas? Like forever?" Jennifer's breath hitched. Harrison smiled softly. "Yeah, kiddo, I think I can." Ramirez tipped his hat. "Merry Christmas, Banks family. Looks like you just got yourselves a guardian angel." Jennifer slipped her hand into Harrison's, hesitant at first, then confident. Harrison squeezed back, and for the first time in a long, long time, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. But what none of them knew, this Christmas Eve was only the beginning of a story that would soon change all their lives in ways none of them could have imagined.